Positive, encouraging KLOVE, Skip and Amy. I cannot tell you how long I've waited to see you face to face.
Come on.
No, it's the truth.
Come on.
Jordan St. Cyr is with us. I love your music.
Thank you.
I love your story.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that you drink just coffee.
That's right. You know what? I think it's just the blue collarness in me. You know, I'm just trying to be a good husband and a good dad. You know what I mean? And so here we are. You know, you get the coffee.
Well, and you ordered it pre-spilled.
Yeah. Like I said, this is how I take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that likely to just like totally mess up your day? Like when your coffee spills? Because I have a leaky mug.
Okay.
And no matter how I wear nice shirts, why I don't wear nice shirts to work because immediately, right there.
Yeah.
There it is.
Definitely not. I am prone to spilling myself, so I've just accepted that. If I've got a white T-shirt and there's mustard 30 feet away, it's coming for me.
Oh my!
You were saying.
Thank you. So this is our first time meeting you face to face. Of course, we've been listening. We're big fans of your music, but I think that sometimes people assume, and I'm guilty of it too, that you just jumped in and decided one day I'm going to start music, and you haven't been working for a very long time. How did you get to this point where you are today, Jordan?
I just kept showing up. You know, really, for real, I just kept showing up, writing songs, and eventually kind of fell into this this message that God gave me of it became less about serving myself and more about serving people, you know, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that just the way of like how we participate in God's work? It becomes less centered on us and more centered on what he's already doing. And so there was a switch, a clear switch. This would have been 4 or 5 years ago. And I just stopped trying to be something I wasn't and focused on the one most important thing that has always been in my heart, which is to say the name of Jesus. And there's such vulnerability there for me. Yep. Even saying Jesus on the microphone in front of all these people, there's such a vulnerability there because I think it means so much, you know? So, yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, God really he gave me these songs to serve his people because I think I surrendered my will to his, you know, and it became about what he was doing, you know?
When you go in and record a song like Fires or Weary Traveler, do you just think like, this is kind of interesting, or does it like
right? It was a Wednesday, you know. You know, you do your best to show up and to bring your heart and the ideas, and our job as artists is to steward those well, to not waste them. Nice, right? And so, yeah, you show up and you write the song, and you're like, okay, that was good. You know, looking forward to tomorrow's right. You know, we're gonna write another one. But then you kind of stand back. You know, you have this collection of songs and they start rubbing against one another and they start, you know, stacking up. And Fires was just one of those songs. I just felt it was so culturally relative at the time. You know, we had just entered the pandemic and it wasn't opportunistic if it serves people, right? Yeah. So it's like, my hope and prayer was to serve people. We had a couple other songs that, you know, my producer wanted or some other writers thought were, you know, oh, why not this one? And I just think there's something about God's timing in this season that we have to be aware of. And so how do we steward that forward? And Fires was that song.
I think of the themes in both Fires and Weary Traveler, and they're heavy and hard, walking through fires of life, which all of us have, and just being tired and worn out and weary, and how God is there in the midst of all of that. Yeah. Why did you take that direction?
You know, I think in Christendom, in our culture, we love a good win. Yes. And these songs are not about winning. And I know there's a hard tension there. And really it's my story. Yeah. It's of my wife and our kids and what we've gone through with our little girl. And we weren't winning, but we were still operating out of the victory God had given us. Yes. You know what I mean? So it's like we weren't victims to our circumstance, but we still hadn't received our miracle. So how then how was our relationship with God in that moment? And so these songs were born out of, you know, that tension really of who is God, knowing he loves me and he's so good and he's so faithful, but I'm not physically feeling any better, you know?
I think that in looking just the broad picture, having these singles under your belt when the album finally comes out and it's here in just a couple days, it kind of does it take some of the pressure off you that we've already had this success, God's given us this success,
right?
That now I can exhale a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's just so many more colors on this album that I want to share with people because, while we may live a season of life in this tension, God does not want to leave us there. You know what I mean? He's always working and moving us in and out of those seasons to reveal something to us. And so while the songs on this album do reflect some of that season, they also reflect such, the powerful, amazing gifts and the good times. And, there's this one song called Grateful that we recently released. And it's just about the gratitude flowing out of our hearts. Because God did pull us through this season and he is continually working in our lives. So there's a gift in the valley for sure.
Do you think people take you super seriously?
Probably.
Because it's just, and you walk in going like, I'm expecting like, the dude with the impeccable clothing and comes strolling in.
Yeah.
And then this guy comes walking in like some dude I'd be hanging out with at Tim Hortons.
Yes.
Just like, dude, bring it.
I don't desire to be anything other than that. My ethos, my mentality is like, I love being on stage and singing, but it really is only to get me to the merch table to hang out with people and hear their stories.
Fabulous.
Because, and that isn't, a humble brag or anything other than it's just, that's where the rubber meets the road. For me, I think that's where Jesus would be. I think it's his heart for people is just so huge. And that's what I'm after.
You're a daddy, and you mentioned you have 2 boys and 2 girls.
That's right.
An adorable picture with like you guys on the tree and all. Just so sweet. But you mentioned specifically your daughter, Emery, and the ups and downs that you've been facing with what she is facing. Tell us about her.
Yeah, she was born just over 3 years ago with a rare brain condition, and it just rocked our world. We had only known 3 healthy kids, and her first day of life, we rush her in to have this MRI that reveals this nasty brain condition that is progressive. Basically the left side of her brain is not getting enough blood for it to grow, so it's suffering from atrophy. Wow. And so a lot of seizures, high risk of stroke, blood clots, ambulance rides, emergency room visits. And it's like the first year of her life, we had, 3 doctor's appointments a week. It was just... oh my gosh, it threw us for a loop. It really did. It caused us to dig in ways we didn't know we had the strength for, with God. What I hear is, when you go through a traumatic experience like this in your marriage, most marriages don't last. And I only heard that statistic like a handful of months ago. And I was just blown away because this has been kind of a catalyst for my wife and I to dig in deeper. Anytime we're faced with a challenge, whether it's this pandemic or, these protests or anything, it's always an opportunity to dig in more with God but really dig in with people. And so that's what this little girl has done. She's been a light in our lives. And we're like, okay, well, if we had to give up everything we've learned, would we give it up? Well, no. We're good, and it's not easy. And tomorrow is, a question mark in a lot of ways, but it's also revealed how little control we had in the first place.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like when everything is taken away from you. And for the first time in our lives, we were 100% reliant on God. Yep. What an amazingly terrifying but good place to be. And so God brought us there, and And
the gifts that he's given you through this. And it sounds kind of strange using the word gift.
It is a gift. A friend of mine, he calls it an odd privilege. Wow. He has a son as well who is going through some big health challenges, but he used that word combination of odd privilege, and it truly is, because the world, would see this as broken. Mm-hmm. But what I always say is, how could something that the world deems as broken, that draws you so close to the heart of God, be broken?
What is one thing that you did, like a tangible thing, whether it's journaling or singing in the shower, that pushed you through? Because a lot of people are facing, maybe it is a health crisis or a job crisis, and they can't even open their eyes. They can't take another step. How did you get to where you are today and you're still standing?
You got to share your testimony. even when it's not at the place where you have won the day, you've got to continually share your story. Put your need out there. The church exists to surround you in your time of need. And so that's what we did. We were not winning, but we did need to share our story. And what we found is we just had a greater understanding of who the church was in our lives. We had people surround us with, cover us in prayer, share meals with us, took offerings for us. We had our local mechanic, literally take our car that was in shambles and basically gave it a whole new life, and we're still driving it to this day.
Oh my!
And so you put your need out there. We're called to help you. That's who we are as a church.
Now y'all recently made the commitment and moved down here.
We sure did.
How's that adjustment been for a Canadian family? Welcome to the.
Okay, well, for some strange reason, this year I think we are experiencing the coldest and the most snow back home than we have.
Oh.
There's been I think 3 of the largest times that we've been hit by the most snow precipitation. One was in 1870s, and then one was mid 50 years ago. And
I remember the first one. I was there for that one.
This year.
Yeah.
And so back home, it's we couldn't have planned this out better to be leaving.
Sure.
I'm not a big winter guy. Snow every year. I don't know why we live here. Clearly, I love people because, gosh. But yeah, we've committed to be down here, and it's beautiful, man. We're loving the Tennessee winter.
I want you to know, though, you've truly let me down.
Uh-oh.
Your accent. Where is it? It's non-existent. I really was excited about it.
I know. You kind of, if you turn the radio on and drive from here up to Canada, and you go through, kind of your Wisconsin and your Minnesota, and then all of a sudden you cross the border.
Instant.
It's gone. It's
for real?
I mean, it's still there. We do have our little things, but a lot of us sound more like the Midwest, the TV kind of thing.
You do. Yeah. You're perfect.
Well,
I mean, your accent. You know what I...
Yeah, he knew that walking in. I could smell the attitude. It's craziness.
There you go.
There's so many things. We're short on time. There's so many things that I want to ask you about, but I cannot leave. You went to ground zero.
Yeah.
After 9/11.
Yeah.
What compelled you to do that? You were what were you in life, and what made you do that?
Growing up, I had this missional heart. I always wanted to be a part of what God was doing outside of my community, and so in our local church, we had a lot of youth that had gone through Youth with a Mission, and they'd come back and share their stories. And so it was just impressed upon my heart when I was 14, 15, 16, that is what I want to do as soon as I graduate from high school. So I'm such a planner. Even at that age, I had worked it out where I would finish high school half a year early.
Yeah.
I would get out, I would work. I went and worked for a local electrician, made enough money to support myself, and went to Youth with a Mission in Montana for 3-4 months.
Wow.
And then, you go to Youth with a Mission thinking, I'm going to go to Bolivia or China or, a grand destination. And when the opportunity came and New York was on the list of the places to choose, we were just called to just go pray. And it was so immediate for me. I'm like, this is so real, so tangible. And, we didn't do this crazy spiritual work, but it was. We worked in food services, and we did the night shift from 11 to 7 a.m. And we served, policemen and firemen and cleanup crew. And we were told to just only talk if you're talked to, but otherwise you're here to just serve. And it was such a teaching moment for most of us young, kids who had this real missional heart to share the gospel and all this, but it was just just be quiet and let God do his thing.
When you're at that place at that time, there was such an awesome quiet. When you get to that, because I remember when we were there, you were afraid to say anything. Not so much afraid to say anything, but you felt the heaviness and the weight of it all. Yeah. And what you were doing, you were giving them comfort.
Right.
And that was just absolutely wonderful. I was completely knocked out when I read that. I went, this is a man with a brilliant heart.
Wow. God put me in so many unique positions as a young person, and I can just feel like he was just setting me up, and building me to this point where should I receive any notoriety or fame, that I would understand that I'm not the center of that. So I'm grateful for those experiences.
God's just setting you up. And where are we going to see, let's look down the road 20, 30 years, where will Jordan St. Cyr be?
Oh my goodness. I'll probably, be a part of some, teaching organization, something that really serves people, but I will likely be the guy greeting you at the door, serving the coffee, and just playing a support role.
Pre-spilled coffee too.
Pre-spilled. That's right. That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Dude, I'm so thrilled. You sense something about someone when you hear their music and when you read their words, and then when you see them talk, and you have not let down at all. I just want to know who your hat dude is. I mean, you've got the greatest hat dude.
Okay, so that's a local company in town here called Daisy May Hat Co. And they make great hats. This is bought at Lids.
Okay. Have you ever Googled yourself?
No.
Google yourself one time. It's the weirdest thing. I tell everyone to do this. Google yourself once.
Okay.
And you're going to see stuff like,
what?
Did I do that? Wow, I look really impressive. Don't impress yourself.
Okay.
It'll be really
I'll see
weird.
what I can do.
Now, if you're bored on the bus one day and you need to kill 3 minutes,
oh my gosh,
have at it.
Are you excited to travel with Jeremy Camp? I mean, that's going to be fun.
Stoked.
Yeah.
I got to do 9 dates with him last spring, and so to be a part of a bigger tour now, he. Like you said, like people's reputation goes before them.
Yes.
And then sometimes they have this ability to let you down.
Yes.
It's just our unique human quality. But Jeremy was one of those guys where his team, the culture on the bus, I'm like, I always told my booking agency early on, I want to be around people that I want to be like.
Ooh.
And him and his team, they just pour in. They pour in. And so I'm excited because I get to live life and I get to be better.
They pull you into that world and elevate you to that.
That's right.
That's perfect. Jordan, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you both. It's been awesome.